Welcome back to another episode of the Strength and Speed Podcast. I'm your host, Evan Preparis. Joining me, I have a guest. Before we get to him, though, a quick word from this episode's sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Juice Performer. If you're not familiar with Juice Performer, they make the beet and cherry juice that you probably have gotten at a Conquer the Gauntlet race. So it's ready-to-drink cans. It tastes delicious. The beet juice tastes like beets. So if you don't like beets, you're not going to like it. But it's got a very earthy taste. And the cherry juice is a little bit sweeter, obviously. Great for – the beet juice is good kind of for pre-workout, and the cherry juice is better for post. So we didn't have any available in 2021. I'm sorry. Yeah, 2021. I get my years confused. But 2022, you can look for it at Battle of the Lions events. So we will have free cans to give away at the Battle of the Lions events. Stop by the protein booth, the protein tent there. Pick up some free cans, give it a taste, and then pick up some cans from the store when you get a chance. They've been supporting the protein for several years now, so long-time supporter of the OCR industry. So give Juice Performer a like on their social media and try some of their products. All right, let's get to today's guest. Joining me, I have Ronald Tortola. Ronald, welcome.
Hey, Evan, how you doing? Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so I'm going to run through Ronald's bio real quick, and then we're going to jump right into it. So, Ronald's what I like to – I consider myself an ultra-OCR specialist. You are like the – selection endurance specialist guy. I look through your resume and it makes me a little nauseous because of all the painful things you've done. So, you've in the past, he's gotten the Spartan Delta, the Storm Delta, the Master of Endurance Delta, which we're going to dive into, what the difference is for each of those. He's done Agoge 005 in 2017. He finished the death race in 2018, finished the death race again in 2019. So 2 for 2. He's done team assessment in 2020, pre-selection in 2020, team assessment in 2021, pre-selection in 2021, 50-miler star course. So those are all GoRuck events. And then in addition, he's done some, done World's Toughest Mudder 3 times, hit 50 miles at World's Toughest Mudder twice in individual and once as a team. And he's got a few 50-milers, 50Ks, and ultras under his belt. So Ronald, again, welcome.
Thank you. Wow, that's a lot of stuff. Wow, I never put stuff together. My girlfriend usually is the one that, always tells me, you need to keep all your stuff, all the stuff that you finish. I was like, it's in the bucket. It's just there. But, yeah. Wow. Thank you.
So let's start at the top here, and then we'll kind of, we'll kind of dive deeper from there. So, I wrote an article, this is going back 5 years or something like that. It was called are events like Death Race or GoRuck OCR? And in my opinion, they're not, right? To me, it's not a fixed course. They're creating, it's their own unique set of challenges. To me, they fall into a different category of events, which I called assessment and selection events. Is there an official name for it? Like the selection or the Agoge types? Is there an official umbrella name?
I'm going to say, most of the people calling endurance events. So I'm going to say it's an endurance event just because, like you said, it's very different than OCR. It's more like an endurance challenge. So that's why, usually people call it just an endurance event.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, and, it takes a special kind of person to go into these, right? So if I go into a 50-miler or 50K or World's Toughest, I control the pace, right? I'm controlling my level of suffering the majority of the time. Someone like you who's going into these events, you're not in control because they're having you do tasks and try to accomplish things that are dictated by the cadre.
Correct.
So, yeah. So tell me, what's your mindset when you go into one of these challenging events?
Wow, that's a huge question. Depending on the event, every event is different. GoRuck, when you go to what they call a tier 1 events, when you go to tier 1 event in GoRuck, which is selection, pre-selection, team assessment, you already know that there's going to be a lot of heavy stuff. There's going to be a lot of rocking. There's going to be a lot of PT. There is a PT test involved in the event. So when you prepare for the tier 1 event in GoRuck, you already know some of the stuff is going to happen. Based on either you did it before or, you kind of have some social media idea or, that you watch somewhere and you talk to the other participants. So in the beginning, it's GoRuck, it's black and white. it's going to be hard. You know it's going to be sandbags involved. You know you're going to rock. You know you have a PT test you have to meet. You know there is a standard that you have to meet. If you don't meet the standard, you get performance check, and then, you know, you'll be sending home. So GoRuck events is, like I said, black and white. They're not, you know, they're not sugarcoating the event. They're telling you it's going to be hard. You're going to train hard. You know, like you said, OCR, it's almost out of the picture. You know, it's, you know, you're not going to do obstacles like, you know, like in the OCR events. It's, you know, it's just GoRuck, sandbag, rocking, heavy stuff, a lot of PT. So that's when it comes to GoRuck. When it comes to Spartan endurance events, that one, it's a different mindset because it involves a lot of patience. When I say patient, a lot of patience through pain, especially the death race, for example. If you go to the top of the spear, death race is it's a mentally challenge and it's physically. And then when you show to the event, you know, I mean, you know, like you asked, how do you prepare? It has to be a way that you show up and you're like, you know what? It doesn't matter what they tell me. It doesn't matter what, you know, the challenge is. It doesn't matter how long it's going to be. I want to finish this. You know, you have to have a strong why, you know, reasons why you want to finish it. And I think it's different for everybody, the reasons why they show up to an event. But, you know, if you have the right training and you have the right mindset and then you show up to an Spartan endurance event, it's a lot of patience, especially because, like you said, you have no control. There is no pace. There is no distance. There is no obstacle that you know. Everything is based on what they want you to do, and it's their time, it's their event, and you know it's like you're in their hands, and then they'll make everything possible for you to quit. So that's why I would say Spartan endurance events are more different than GoRuck. You just show up and you don't even know what you're gonna do. For example, 2018, you know, when you do the bear crawl and the obstacle races, you know, it's, you know, a few meters, you know, 10 meters maybe, and there was a quarter-mile track for the whole quarter-mile track. It was a loop. It was very wild. The whole quarter-mile. We had to crawl for 12 hours. And if you think about it, you know, you're like, well, why somebody want to crawl for 12 hours? And that was just the challenge. You're like, okay, the next challenge is 12-hour crawling. And people, you know, were thinking like, nah, we're not going to be here for 12 hours. Well, we were probably there for 14 hours. And it's one of those challenges that people sometimes ask, how do I train for the death race? And I always tell them, look, you just have to be prepared for anything, because you might walk for 4 days or you might, you know, crawl for 3 days. And, you know, it's always like that. You never know what's going to happen. So, you know, mindset, just, you know, show up and be ready to, you know, anything. And in the death race, there is, you know, there is just so much stuff going on in the death race. You can talk to people that finish the death race and people that try the death race before. Every year it's different. Every year they make it, you know, worse and harder. But you know, if you're like me, that, you know, you like a good challenge and, you know, you try to, you know, see the next level and see if you're capable to finish something, you know, like that, it's definitely something to do.
Oh, I got so many good questions for you. We're gonna get to them though, but I want to start at, you know, I mentioned some of these in your bio. So tell us the difference between the Spartan Delta, the Storm Delta, and the Master of Endurance Delta.
Okay, so I think since, you know, since everything happened on 2020, a lot of the stuff changed. They haven't done, you know, what it used to be in 2018, 2017. There was a huge community doing endurance events in Spartan. And because what happened in 2020 with the virus, I think it just, you know, fell out of the radar. People were not doing anymore. But back in the days, you know, let's say back before the virus, yeah. It used to be huge. There was, like I said, there was a big community. We used to travel together. We used to meet up in different states, and that's what the whole Delta started. So So I'm gonna start with the Spartan Delta. So the Spartan Delta, it's 3 trifectas. So you have the regular trifecta, which is the super, spring, and beast. That's one trifecta. And then the second trifecta is the endurance trifecta. Back in the days, it used to be the hurricane heat 4 hours, the hurricane heat 12 hours, and you had to finish an ultra. So that's those 3. It's considered the endurance trifecta. And then you have to do the training trifecta. This is the one that not a lot of people know, and it gets lost. Like you just have to like do some research and find out how can you get it, because you have to get a obstacle course. So you have to go with a coach and get certified for obstacle competition. So it's it's more than the doing obstacles. You actually have to go with a coach, pay for the class, and then you get one part of the trifecta, and then the second part it's the Agoge. So 2017 is when I finished my first Agoge. So Agoge it's kind of like a surviving event. No as hard as the death race, but it's very similar. But they teach you survival stuff. They take you for 3 days and 2 nights to Vermont. You bring, you pack, you bring your water, your food, everything it's out of the woods, and they teach you, surviving skills and things like that. So you have to get that event done. And then what was the other one? There was a book that we had to read. So you have to go online and get this book, and it was pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. That's why it takes a whole year to get it done, because the last piece you have to do. The book lasted for 6 months, so every month you had to review a certain part of the book, and then the next month you did the next thing until you finish the 6 months. So you have to do it early in the year to finish the whole training trifecta in 1 year. So like I said, it's out of the radar now. Not a lot of people talks about it. There is a few pro athletes that finish it back in the days. But like I said, it's out of the radar. Nobody talks anymore. But it's still there. Spartan still have the Spartan Delta, and it's definitely a challenge. Like I said, completing Agoge, and you have to complete an ultra too. But that's the Delta.
Okay, now it's Storm Delta. Give us a rundown on that one.
Okay, the Storm Delta. The Storm Delta, it takes 3 years to complete a Storm Delta, and people will say, why 3 years? Okay, because back in the days, you can only do 1 24-hour every year. So there was only one event that they did for 24 hours in the whole year. So it's consistent in 3 trifectas. So you had to finish 3 hurricane heats in the same year, 4 hours. You had to finish 3 12 hours, 12 hours, and then the last 3 24 hours, you can only complete 1 every year. So to finish the Storm Delta, it will take you 3 years to finish it. Gotcha. So once you finish the 3, you complete the trifecta.
Okay, now Master of Endurance.
Delta. Okay, the Master Endurance. Okay, the Master Endurance. That's the easiest one. Okay, so in the year calendar, you have to finish 3 4-hour hurricane heats, 3 12-hour hurricane heats, and 3 ultras.
Okay.
Yeah, that one is easy. You just have to. You do have to do a lot of running, but the 12 hours are probably the hardest events out of all of them. There are some people that actually finished the Agoge and didn't finish the 12 hours because some 12 hours they have time hacks, and some of the time hacks are hard. Like there's a lot of physical stuff in some of them. Depending who's leading the event, it can be hard, really hard, or it can be, easy 12 hours. They call it easy. I don't call it easy, but some people say it easy. But, they still a challenge, and because there's time hacks that you have to meet in the 12 hours.
Nice. And for those of you who don't know, the Delta, it's like an actual trophy. It's like a big pyramid trophy. And then you put your little medallion pieces in there. So it makes for a very nice display.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, that's why you have to do 3 trifectas. Each trifecta is one side of the triangle.
Right.
Yeah.
So When you do this, do they, like when you complete, do they give you the triangle or you got to buy the triangle separately?
No, you had to buy the triangle. Yeah, you had to
Okay.
buy. Yeah.
So do you have multiple triangles in your house or you just have
Yeah,
one? Okay.
yeah. Actually, they're everywhere. I gave my mom. I actually did the whole triangle, the delta, to my mom, and I gave it to my mom back in 2017. That's when I finished. I gave it to my mom for the end of the year. And I was like, look, I did it because of you, and in her memory, it's like, this is for you. So she has it at home in California. So every time I go, like, she keeps it, like, away from everybody. It's like, no, nobody's gonna touch this triangle. Yeah,
That's awesome. That's awesome.
yeah.
I mean, it's yeah, I know the Spartan community has a large crowd that, like, there's dudes who get like 15, 18 trifectas in a year. Like, do you know if you're the person with the most number of these like endurance of these like deltas? Do you know if that's the case, or is there someone who you're like, oh, that dude's at every event?
There is someone else. Her name is Jara. Jara was one of the ones that was with me when I did the Delta in 2017. She finished the Delta the same year. She finished the Master of Endurance Delta in 2018 with me too. But I know she traveled out of the state to do other events in other countries. So I know she has more 12 hours in 24 hours than me. Because of that reason, she traveled to different countries. And I did all the ones that was possible in the U.S. But she definitely has more than me. I know
Okay.
that. Yeah.
And now that I think the big question people probably want to know, right? So these are painful events. Most of them are not competitive, right? Like, do you get a ranking for any of these events, or is it all just like kind of pass fail?
No, yeah, there's you don't get any place. I mean, it's up to you. What you want to finish. What you want to accomplish. How long you want to push. How many you want to do. Like you said, there is not a rank. Nobody's I guess keeping track. I mean, there is the GoRuck community that oh, this guy's been complete team assessment or selection or pre-selection. But other than that, it's up to everybody to everyone to just do whatever they want to do.
Yeah. So I think the big question, people who they've seen other people do Agoge, they've seen people do death race, right? Very stressful, very painful events. They've seen people go through selection, the GoRuck selection, and some of the coverage on social media. Why? What's your why, and then answer for like why you think a lot of the other people come. So start with you
Wow.
personally.
In the beginning was because of the search for the next challenge. In the beginning for me, it was, okay, what do I do after the 4 hour here at the heat, the 12 hour, right? So I went and did the 12 hour. And then what's the next thing? Oh, you have to do an ultra. Okay, I'll do the ultra. What's the next thing? In the beginning for me that was for me in the beginning, the reason why I was, doing these events and try to finish in and, try to do well. But at the same time, you have to train, you have to realize that, you're not just going to show up and finish things that are really hard. So, I kind of had to, make changes, train differently, gear, what kind of shoes you're going to wear, what kind of, clothes you're going to wear, what kind of rucksack you're going to wear, things like that start becoming a thing when you start doing the events, because you realize, well, the backpack that I use for my 4 hours is not going to be good for Agoge, so I need a new backpack. And then I need a new backpack for the dead race, things like that. So for me, it was like a hobby. It was something exciting. Okay, I need to buy a bigger pack. I need to buy, different shoes. I need to buy different pants. I need to buy a jacket for Vermont because I don't have a cold weather gear. So for me, it was very exciting, when I started. And I think when I started doing GoRuck events, that's when my why changed. It was more like a serious thing for me. I had to take different approach because some of the events were hard. Just to beat yourself, it was like, well, I need to get this pace. I need to get, this many sit-ups. I need to get these many push-ups, and they had to be right. They had to, be below 90 degrees, and like all these things have started to come in place when I started doing GoRuck. More discipline. I had to rock heavy. I had to have a time hack a rock time for the PT. So it was no, okay, what's the next thing? Because I'm still here. I'm still doing GoRuck events. I'm still doing, looking for selection, looking for finish selection. That's my goal. And every year it's getting harder. It's getting harder, and it's more training involved. There is more. Okay, now this year we're gonna do a lot of sandbag work, so I need to buy a heavy sandbag. I just bought a 120-pound sandbag the other day because my 80-pound sandbag it's not heavy enough anymore. So I had to up my game, and it's right now it's more like I don't know how to say it. I mean, it's kind of like what the pros do without getting paid. Because I'm putting all this time. I'm spending all this money in gear, spending all this money in, and good food, taking care of myself, good shoes, rucksacks. So it's an investment, and it's a hobby. I'm still enjoying it. I'm still going the weekends and rock for fun. I'm a rock leader too, so I invite people to go rock and promote the rocking to other people. So it's part of my life now. There's no why anymore. It's more like a part of my life. I enjoy rocking. I enjoy going to the gym. I enjoy meeting people. I enjoy traveling to do other events. And the suffering part of the event is actually a thing that I miss. It might sound weird, but I kind of like being in the mud in the evenings. Cold, and you look at other people and you realize, man, these people are struggling too, and they're here, they don't want to quit. I'm not going to quit. Right. And, that feeling, you can't explain it. I tell everybody, look, it doesn't matter how hard you train at home. You're always in control. You always control the time. You always control the situation. Where you're going to train. You always control how many reps, how many miles you want to rock. In the event, you have no control. You know it's gonna be hard, and and all these people are there to me. It's like, I don't know. I don't know. It's a good place to me, because I see all these people from all over the place. I mean, female, male, young, older people, and they're all doing the same thing. They're all doing the work. They all want to finish it, and in the end, like you asked me, they're not getting paid. They're not getting money in the end. It's just a personal goal. It's just everyone has a reason to be there. And through time, you asked me to the second question, why do I see people doing it? And it's through the years, and depending on the event, there's many reasons. I mean, I seen everything. People that are not in shape, they went to an event, they were not ready, but they still put the work. They still struggle. They still, people that passed out, heat exhaustion. I mean, I can't even explain it. Like if I can talk about the events, there's always different reasons for everyone to be there. Personal, because they want redemption. They go back, they failed the year before, then they go back the next year. Because it's for my mom, for my brother. Because I feel like I'm strong and I can do this. I think there is so many whys people do this, and if you find the right whys in other people, it kind of inspiring you to keep going, because you see how people, like I said, people that were not in shape, they still show up, they still sweat, they still cry, they still passed out, but you know what? Some of them finished it. Some of them kept going until the end, and it's inspiring. You see that and you're like, man, like this is freaking awesome. You're not gonna see this in the gym. You're not gonna see this, sitting at home, or you're not gonna see, this when you go out with your friends. Like this is a different world, and it's it kind of touched. Like to me, it touched me, and I think that's the reason why I miss it, and that's the reason why I keep doing it, because when you go there and it's 2 a.m. and it's cold, it's dark, you just look at the sky and there's no social media, there is no phone. You don't have a watch. They take away your watch. There is no GPS. There's just you and the task. You know what you have to do, and you keep going. It's like I said, to me, it's something that I miss, that I like.
Yeah. Your endurance resume in this stuff it's impressive. And to me, what's most impressive is it's a lot and it's over a long time, right? So there's, I see on social media, I'll see people who all right, I'm going to do the death race, and they do the death race once and they check that block and they move on. They do something else. But like, looking at 2017, you have all those hurricane heats, and then, death race 2018, death race 2019, and then switching over to GoRuck in 2020 and 2021, right? Like it's just event after event where you're not in control and you're pushing yourself to limits. So it's impressive. Like I was saying, there's just a lot of people who would look for one of these bullet statements from your resume as like a high point for their like endurance career, and yours is just like boom, every year. Here's another one. Here's another one. Here's another one. So I'm just loving it. I'm loving it. I love seeing you crush it on. Whenever you go to these events. And I notice it in my feed. I start paying attention to see how you're doing over the weekend. I love seeing you crush it. So just keep it.
You too, man. You too. You're, like I always see you on Work Tough is Modern, and it's always inspiring me because Evan is always going. I know you're there somewhere. I know you passed me. I know, it's, to me, it's incredible because, I definitely don't have your pace. I'm not at the level that you are as a runner. Same thing. You're a freaking endurance guy. You can run forever. Like forever when it's cold, and I see you running in your shorts, and I'm like, shaking my head. I'm like, oh my God, how's this guy running with little shorts? Like, I'm like covered all, in gloves and everything because I'm cold. And, it's same thing. Like, just like an endurance event, you get motivated by people like you, people that they're legit. Like you are a legit athlete. You show up and you do your thing. You show everyone, all of us, the kind of athlete you are. And it's, to me, it's inspiring. It's just like an endurance event. People show up there, and there's people that are strong like you. And you're like, man, like I need to step up my game. I need to keep up with these, with these guys.
Yeah, well, thank you, much appreciated. So one of the things I mentioned in your bio there is you've done the 50-miler star course. So tell us a little bit about that, because I've done the SF star course, and it's not 50 miles. It's far, but it's not 50 miles. So tell us what that is.
Okay, so a star course. I actually did it in Oklahoma. I did it with a friend that used to live in Oklahoma. I think it was 2019 or 20. No, it was 2018. It was before the virus. So it's so you show up to the event. It's a GoRuck event. The cadres are there. You have to show up in teams no less than 2 participants. So it can be 2, it can be 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way. I don't know the max, but you have to show up with a teammate because it's a team event. So you show up to the checkpoint. The cadre is there, and they give you the coordinates. So they'll give you either addresses, they'll give you names of places, they'll give you coordinates. Like latitude and altitude. So they'll give you a different challenge because they're military. So they kind of make it, a little harder for the participants to figure it out, the points. So the goal is you're going to hit all these points. It can be 10, it can be 20 different points. So you have to hit all points. You have to post it in social media. You have to hashtag them, and they create a whole IG page for the event. So they're watching all the participants posting you have to post a picture, a selfie, and the place, the point place, if it's, the sculpture of Cristobal Columbus. So you have to take a selfie with the sculpture and then post it in Instagram, and they know that you're there. So every checkpoint needs to be checked in social media. So at the end of the event, they already map all the points that by the time you finish everything, you're gonna hit 50 miles. So you're carrying 20 pounds for the males, and I think it's 10 pounds for females. So you're carrying 20 pounds, and you carry your water, your food, and then it's a competition. The first three places get a prize. I believe it's 200, 300, 200, and 100. 300 for first place, 200 for the second place, and 100 for the third place. So it's a competition, a 50-mile competition, and we got it in under, I believe it was under, if I'm correct, 10 hours, and we got second place. Unfortunately, because we got lost. So we got lost in point 13. We passed the point. We definitely messed up the point. So we passed 2.5 miles. So we went 2.5 miles farther than the point. So we had to go back 2.5 miles back. And then we got lost 5 miles. And we still went back and finished it under good time. And we were very close to break the record. I think the record is 9 hours in some minutes. I will have to double check it. I think Mark Jones break the record this year when he did the 50 miler in Washington. But
and Mark's a beast.
Yeah,
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, he beat the I'm sure he did. So that was our goal. We wanted to break the record, and we were on time, but we missed that point, and we didn't. But I mean, we still got second place, even though we got lost for 5 miles. So we did a 55 miler. But yeah, that's the whole 50 miler. I mean, it is a competition, but it involves a lot of thinking, because you have to figure out the points. You have to figure out the best way to hit all of them, and then be efficient, and not walking running for too long and too far if you don't need to. But it's definitely I'm gonna say, I mean, if you're competing, it's hard, because we were running most of the times, and it's hard on your feet when you run with weight. But if you want to try something for fun, I mean, I believe it's more than, I think it's 24-hour event. So you can go and walk the whole event. I know there's people that they do it and they walk the whole event. So it's definitely a good challenge for a team, for a team event.
Gotcha. Yeah. So for those who don't know, so it's based on the STAR course from Special Forces Assessment Selection, which is a land navigation course. And because, like the name implies, you actually kind of zigzag back and forth across the training area, creating almost like a star shape. Doesn't come out exactly to be a star, but it's one of the parts of selection where they try to weed people out, and it's largely self-imposed weeding out, right? So like, you got to go find this point in the woods, and you got to know where you are essentially at all times. It's part of the star courses at night, part of it's during the day. You're by yourself, so you're tired from other events going on in the previous week, and you have more events coming up. So it's, your end time, but a lot of times you don't know what your next point is, right? So like, you'll go to a point and you'll show up and there'll be a guy there and he'll give you a new point, and then you transition to that new point. And then sometimes you end up like almost going back to almost one of the points you previously were at. So it's, and then I don't think you knew how many points we had to go to either.
That's exactly how it is.
Yeah. So the GoRuck guys are all ex-Special Forces guys, right? So they're all...
That's correct.
Yeah, so I see their events, and it's so weird that they've literally taken stuff that was done to them in the military, and they've just lifted it out and dropped it into the civilian world, and people love it. When I first found out about GoRuck, I was telling my coworkers, and they were like, people don't do that. And I was like, no, they do. There's like a whole community. And they're like, no. I was like, yeah, let's look at this website. And they were like, this is genius, because all the guys have the experience already, so they know how to run those things. And
correct.
A lot of the cadre are like former sergeants who actually ran Camp McCall, where Special Forces Assessment Selection takes place. So they have a lot of experience running that stuff. But it's always
that's true. That is correct.
It's always wild. I've done one GoRuck. I did a GoRuck Light. I got a free entry for it, and it was fun. But it's a little too close to my day job. So I just stuck with the Light and kind of just chalked it up for experience. And what's funny was the guy who was running it was we were actually in the same company for like 2 months, but he was on his way out of the company and I was on my way into the company. So we never met each other, but he said the unit he was from, and I was like, that's my unit. That's
Wow.
so
What a coincidence, huh?
yeah, we talked a little bit after. I didn't let him know I was special forces before GoRuck, because then I figured he'd pick on me more. So
Yeah.
I just laid low, and then you know, carried my fair share of the weight and then some.
So you could be a cadre too.
I
You could
could,
be a
yeah,
cadre. You could be a selection cadre, actually.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, I'm currently running the Tough Mudder's Infinite Hero Honor Challenge, which is similar to this stuff, but I would say significantly watered down. So let's talk about. Let's say someone is listening to this and they're like, well, I want to challenge myself. I want to do these selection type events, these endurance type events. You know, where would you recommend someone starts?
I would say rocking. I think rocking is the number one thing that people needs to start doing, especially because that's what it is. In the dead race and in GoRuck, you have to carry weight. You have to carry your rock. You have to carry your your food, your water. And these are multi-day events. It can run from 48 hours to 4 days. So rocking is the number one thing for any of these tier one events or dead race or agoge. It's the rocking. Get your rucksack, put some weight. And start from the bottom. I mean, you don't have to start. I'm a 55 pound right now, but anybody can start from 10 pounds, 20 pounds, 30 pounds, and just upper the level of the weight depending on the event. During the tier one events in GoRuck, the heaviest your rock is gonna get with water, food, and when it gets wet and muddy, it's about 55 to 60 pounds is the max.
Okay.
So I'm at the max right now, but if somebody wants to do more, 60, 70 pounds, I don't know if it's healthy, if it's actually good, but hey, there's people that weigh 250 pounds and 60 pounds is nothing. So depending on your weight, but rocking is the number one thing that I will tell anybody. Start rocking and start putting some weight on your rock. You start adding distance. Be fastest. Be a fastest rocker. That's the best thing, because in these events you have to move fast and then you have to carry the weight. So the faster you move, the better you're gonna be. The better, the more efficient you're gonna be in the event, because you're gonna finish faster, because you're gonna move faster, because you're gonna be in front of the group instead of being in the back, which that's what you don't want to be in the GoRuck events. You don't want to be in the back. You want to win. You want to meet the standard and not fall behind, because those are the people that get all the attention for the cadre, and those are the people that end up quitting because they just, like they say, they shark attack them.
Yeah, blood in the water. Once you see the blood in the water, you start. Yeah, like in selection, that's what I mean. That's 100% accurate. And you had some good advice there about weight. I think for military courses, a lot of times the weight's like 45 or 50 dry, and then you add in water and food, so it bumps it up to a similar amount. Once you go, I know for training, for me, for when I was going to ranger school and selection and stuff like that, we usually didn't train much above 50 pounds because I think it just does more damage to your joints without as much of a benefit. I will say for the final exercise of Special Forces, it's a week-long event called Rob and Sage. Our packs, and I don't recommend this because it's stupid, our packs going in were 120 pounds each.
Wow.
And they're so heavy, right? You had to sit on the ground, put them on, and then roll over onto your into a push-up position, and then stand up slowly. And your heart rate would be elevated standing still, right? Because there's so much pressure on your lungs and your chest that you had to
Yeah, that is a lot of weight.
It was stupid. But it showed that physically, for us, for a military application, it shows that physically it was possible, right? I now know that I can move several miles on an infiltration with 120 pounds. Would I ever do it?
Yeah.
No, it's stupid. It's insane. But I know it can be done.
Yeah, you're right, because the same thing, just like you said, in the event, you might carry your rock and you might carry 120 pound sandbag with your rock on. So that's 170 plus pounds that you have to carry. And like you said, it is possible. Why? Because we all done it, but I don't know if it's a healthy thing to work, to train like that, but yeah, it's gonna happen in the event.
So you gave some good advice for beginners looking to kind of get involved and starting off slow. What about events, right? So let's say someone's been rucking for a couple months. They're like, all right, I think I'm ready for my first endurance type event. Where would you recommend they start?
Okay, if let's say, like you said, 2 months of training, you've been rocking, you're doing your push-ups, your sit-ups, light workouts, you can definitely do a 4-hour hurricane heat, which is, it's a team-based event for the 4 hours. So it's a lot of the challenge are going to be team-based. So you're not going to be by yourself carrying the weight. You're not going to be by yourself doing the work. You're going to be with a group of people, doing a challenge that it's team-based challenge. So the 4 hour, it's definitely something that, I would say anybody can do it. Like I said, I see people that never did any exercise and actually completed. So 4 hour hurricane heat is definitely in the radar for people like that. And then a basic, right now there's a basic and light and GoRuck events. Same thing. The events that are not tier 1 events are team-based events too. They carry weight, they carry sandbags, they stop, they rock through the city. They go to parks, they do PT, push-ups, sit-ups, exercises with the rock. So it's, basic and light is definitely another event that, I would recommend to people with not a lot of, rocking time in their shoulders, because like I said, it's not that hard. I think it's starting to get hard when you start adding the time packs and we start adding the PT tests, because now you have numbers that you have to meet. So you have to train based on those numbers, to make sure that you can run 5 miles under 40 minutes, that you can do 55 push-ups under 2 minutes, that you can do 65 sit-ups under 2 minutes. So that's the kind of stuff you start adding when you begin. Okay, what's the next thing after the 4 hour? What's the next thing after the basic and light? And then you find the tough, which is the 12 hour. And then you find the heavy, which is the 24 hour. And that's when you need, some extra training, because you're gonna be awake for 24 hours, all night, all day. And, you're gonna carry your food. You're gonna, do a lot of exercising, a lot of PT. So definitely 4 and light and basic are the first that they have to try. For somebody that never did any events and wants to start getting involved and doing events for GoRuck or Spartan, those are the two events to begin.
Gotcha. So it's pretty much correlated with time, right? So the shorter event, the easier it's going to be. The longer event, the harder they make it.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. So just a quick guide for anyone out there looking to get involved. So let's real quick talk about some gear, right? So what's your personal recommendations? Let's start at the feet, right? Give me socks and shoes. What's your recommendations for socks and shoes for this stuff?
Okay, so right now, I use tennis shoes. I use Ultra shoes. Those Ultra Olympus. That's my way to go, because they have a lot of cushion. And they zero drop, and you can run, you can rock heavy with those shoes. To me, they're the best way for me to perform. I know some people prefer boots. I train with tennis shoes all the time, so I kind of developed the ankle strength by using tennis shoes while I'm training, and while I'm doing the events too. I do the events with tennis, so I know it works for me, but I know it doesn't work for everyone, because if you don't have a good ankle strength, it can be really bad on your ankles with the extra weight and all those things. So for me, it's Ultra shoes, and then merino wool shoes. I started to use the Mud Gear socks. I would say this has to be my second year using those socks. So I'm using those socks, and they're actually being providing me with the socks for free. So thanks to Mud Gear that I get the socks from them for rocking. And before rocking, when I was doing OCR, they were very grateful with me and they actually send me the OCR socks too. So I have those two for rocking, and I use those for running, and those are, you know, the socks that I have right now.
Gotcha. Yeah, we love mud gear here, obviously. Let's go jump up to the, let's go, what about you wear shorts, pants? What's the leg recommendation here?
Okay, my best advice, and this is for anybody that asks me all the time. I say, hey, what's the best pants? GoRuck pants are expensive. Yes, they are very expensive. I mean, we're talking about $150 pair of pants for an event that you're going to be in the mud and dirt and sweaty. It's, for a lot of people, they're expensive. I mean, we're not going to say they're not, but they are worth it. I don't get any from GoRuck. You know, they're not paying me anything. They're not giving me anything for free, but I would recommend it because those pants are tough. I've been through so many tier ones events and never messed up one of their pants. And they have a life warranty. So if something happened with the pants, the zippers, if you hit holes or whatever happened to your pants, they will fix them, they'll replace them, and you might get a new pair of pants. So that's, to me, it's an investment. And I always tell people, look, this is the way I see it. Do I want to go to an event and spend, this much money in my gear that I know that it's going to work, that I know that I don't have to worry about not finishing the event because my gear is not right, because my gear is cheap, because my gear is going to break. And this is the reason why I don't finish the event. I want to take that away from the equation, right? I want to show up to the event and say, you know what? I have good quality gear. So now it depends on me. My gear is not going to fail. My gear is going to finish with me. It's not, my shoes are going to finish with me. My pants is going to stay together. It's going to keep me, in the game. And it's not going to be a reason for me not to finish the event because I brought, cheap gear. Why? Because I seen it. I seen people showing to the events with warm-up backpacks, and 2 hours into the event, the shoulder strap ripped, the pants, there is no pants anymore. The pants ripped through crawling. I'm telling you, I've seen so many things that, to me, I always tell people, spend the money, make an investment for the right gear, and you're going to be thankful to yourself when you finish and you know what? My shoes are fine. My pants are great. I finished the event.
The number of crotch blowouts I've seen in the military is more than I can feasibly count. It's an absurd number because we all wear like standard issue pants, right? Things are a little bit better now, but 10 years ago, the pants were less good, especially the first round of ACUs that came out, the Army combat uniform. That was my first deployment. Everyone ripped through their crotch, every single pair. Then they reinforced them for the next edition. But yeah, you definitely got to see some stuff you didn't need to see. So do you wear anything underneath the pants, or you just go commando, as the saying goes?
No, I actually have I same thing. Just for the events, I wear underwear. They're polyester.
Okay.
I don't wear anything for the events. I don't wear anything that has cotton. Everything that I wear is polyester, so it dries fast and it doesn't hold in water. Yeah. Yeah,
that makes sense. So in the military, a lot of times we don't wear, like on these Ranger School and selection, a lot of people, they'll either go with something similar, like a synthetic underwear, or correct. The majority of people actually wear nothing underneath. And the reason being, right, so like if I go through a stream crossing, my pants get wet, and then if I come out of the stream crossing, eventually my pants will dry. But if you're wearing multiple layers, then the bottom layer will never dry. So like your crotch will always be wet, essentially.
Yeah, that's correct. That's why, like you said, if you want to wear underwear, like anything that is polyester or nothing that is made out of cotton, because that's what it holds the water and it will never dry.
All right, now let's jump up to backpack.
Okay, backpack. Look, same thing. Not getting paid for 511 or GoRuck, but when I started the events, I actually started with 511. I had my first rock. It was a 511 rock. I use it for many 4 hours, for many 12 hours. And I think I did it for 1 24 hour, and it was great. It stayed together. Never broke, actually. I just stopped using it because I started doing GoRuck events, and I was like, look, let me try the rocks, right? Same thing. It's definitely a huge jump in price when you come from 511 to GoRuck. I mean, we're talking about double the price probably from one company to the other one. So are they worth it? Yes. They are definitely worth it. Those things are made for death and destruction. Those things would take anything. And same thing. They have lifetime warranty. If anything happened to those rocks, they'll fix it, or you get a new one. I actually just got a new one. My GR2, after I actually used it for 2 team assessment and 1 pre-selection, the zippers they were just dead. So I sent it to GoRuck, and they give me a new one, brand new rock. So didn't pay a penny.
Nice.
Again, it's an investment that is worth it. For me, I would tell everybody, look, if you don't have the money, start with the 511. Give it a try, give it a few events. Definitely don't take it to a GoRuck event, because GoRuck, they're very particular about the rocks. If you show up to a tier 1 event, you have to use a GoRuck rock. That's part of the gear list. You can't show up with the 511 or any other brand. It has to be a GoRuck rock. If it's a tier 1 event, if it's another event, like a basic or light, you can still show up with the 511. But again, it all depends on if you just want to do one event, or if this is want to start your journey, and you see yourself, what, I want to do selection, I want to do team assessment. I would have said, what, go with GoRuck. It's start right, start strong, and you'll be fine. You're not gonna regret it, and you're gonna be happy with the gear.
Yeah. You're getting, like you were saying, you're getting what you pay for. These are all special forces guys who designed, created, and tested this stuff. So they know what they're doing, and they know what, rigors they're going to put it through. And they specifically designed it for their event. So lots of good products over there. Let's talk. We're going to let you get going in a minute. So you have this huge list of accomplishments. What is the future, right? Like, are there any kind of big bucket list items you have left for the endurance world, or any kind of plans you have in the next couple of years that you want to share?
Yes. I'm like I said, I'm still training for selection. That's my biggest, I would say my biggest goal this year. And it's been in the last 2 years. So, that's my goal right now. Just keep training for selection, and hopefully,
What month is it?
It's November in Jacksonville this year. So they do it 1 year in Jacksonville and 1 year in Ohio. So this year is going to be in Jacksonville Beach.
Okay. And so I know when you go to the selection, you like I'm assuming it's like real selection, right? Where the first thing they make you do is take the PT test. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes, that's correct.
So if you pay for selection and you go there and you fail the PT test, that's it, right? Like
you go home.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Just like the real thing. It's just like the real thing.
It happens every year. You show up, you don't finish the PT, you go home. Yeah.
So what percentage, so obviously it's going to depend on the event and depend on the length of event. What percentage would you say what I'm going to call self-selects, right? So they quit, versus what percentage of people get dropped? Like, you have failed to meet standard, you have failed to meet a time cutoff, you were no longer part of the course. And then
let's see.
It's going to vary wildly between events, but give me kind of like a generalization.
I'm going to say, oh man, I'm going to say quitting, it will be a good 60%.
Yeah.
Of people quitting, yeah, because they shark attack him, and they just fall behind. They can't keep up with the group. They start cramping up. They're just not meeting the standard. We all been there. You don't meet the standard, you feel good. It gets in your heart, and you're just like, I can't do this. I think a lot of people get to that place, especially with selection. It just it's hard in every way, physically, mentally. I mean, they made the event stressful since the beginning. Like you said, it's like the real thing. You're just not in the military, but they are doing it to make you feel like it's real.
Yeah. And I keep saying, I don't mean to say like real thing, but in some aspects, they take a course that is 3 weeks and they condense a large parts of it down into, essentially 48 or 72 or 96 hours. So in some aspects, it's actually, I bet you it's more physically draining in a short kind of snapshot. So like one of the things that makes selection hard is the fact that it's so long, but it's not, it's not like the version you're going through. It's not like that for 3 weeks, like the real version. That's not what it is, right? There's a lot of periods of like, downtime and kind of rest and recovery, not necessarily in a necessarily peaceful way, but they don't have events stacked up back to back to back to back in the 3 week one. That's part of Special Forces assessment selection. So
okay, that's the difference. Yeah, because in the event you just like finish one and you go to the next one.
You go right to the next one. Yeah,
there's no breaks. Yeah.
Yeah, so in some respects, it is harder. I'm not gonna say one's harder than the other. I'm just gonna say they're different, and they both come with their own set of challenges, right? Like the ability to stay focused for 3 weeks and continue to perform and kind of keep your mind in the game is different versus a shorter version where it's a little more intense, right? Like there are guys like you were saying that they're physical studs and they come to this 3 week course. And while you're there, they give you no feedback. At no point are they like, hey, you're doing a really good job. They're just like, all right, what's your number? Okay. And they write it down in a notebook and they don't tell you if they're writing you down for a good reason or a bad reason or whatever. And it gets in people's head and they're like, all right, that's it. I quit. That's the 5th time that guy wrote down my number. I know I'm screwed. And in reality, they're self-selecting, right? Like,
it is true. It happens just like that. Yeah.
If you self-select, then you're never gonna make it, right? So, my advice for anyone who's going to this or the actual military version is don't self-select. Let someone tell you that you're not good enough. And,
correct.
Because then you have nothing. Then you can't say, you can't be like, oh, I shouldn't have given up. It's like, well, they told me I wasn't good enough this time. I'll train harder and come back next time, right? Like,
yeah, and that happens a lot. A lot of people quit because of that reason. They're like, oh, I was falling behind. I wasn't keeping up with the pace. But in reality, they were still in the game. They still look strong. Yeah, it happens all the time. And that's why, like when I was telling you, the reasons why people, do it is because a lot of them failed. They went through that place in the event where they're just like, oh, I'm not performing. I'm done. Like they're looking at me. And they quit and they're like, oh no, you know what? Next year I'm gonna come back and finish. And you see that a lot. There's a lot of like redemption for a lot of people. They go back because they just have that weak moment where they give up and they're like, and even the cadets at the end, they're like, well, you're looking strong. I mean, you were on time to finish the time. I mean, I don't know why you quit. And they're like, oh man, like seriously, it happens a lot.
Did you watch the TV show The Selection when it was on in History Channel?
I did. What was his name? Oh man, the OCR guy.
So Logan Nagel was on it. What's his name? Brian Kent was on it, and then
Brian Kent won. Right? Yeah, Brian Kent won.
Yeah, Ryan Kent, and then
Brian Kent.
What's his name? Used to work for Obstacle Racing Media. I'm drawing a blank on his name. Anyway. There's a couple of OCR people on there. There's a couple other OCR people that were actually also high level that quit really early. And one of the things, so I took special interest in that show. One, because I knew Logan going into it. So I watched every episode. And I think, so they had like around 24 people compete. I think something like, I had the numbers actually written down someplace. I don't remember quite off the top of my head, but I think 18 of the people essentially quit. 2 people failed to meet standards, so they were dropped, and the other 4 finished, right? So, like, you look at those percentages, and the majority of people decided they weren't good enough. The cadre didn't tell them they weren't good enough.
Yeah, correct.
And it was similar to, so my experience at selection, we started with like 320. The class I went through, sometimes they dropped people along the way for failing to meet standards. The class I went through, for some reason, they didn't do that. I don't know, based on the commander or whoever. So we started with 320, finished with 200. So 120 people voluntarily left. They were not kicked out. They just quit. And then out of the 200 that remained, 120 essentially got picked. So they moved on to this qualification course. And then out of that 120, about a third of those probably wash out, either for failing to meet academic standards over the next 14 months, or they do something stupid like they get a DUI, or they get in trouble for whatever, all sorts of nonsense. Or some people just decide they pass selection, but they don't want to come back for the qualification course, or they don't want to change their career or something like that. So, it's
man,
if
that's interesting too.
Yeah, if it's something you want, I don't need to tell you this, but for our listeners, go and give it your all, and let them tell you you're not good enough. Don't ever tell yourself you're not good enough. So.
That's true. Yeah, it's not over until it's over. So just keep going.
And the other thing is, you may never know, right? So like, you might be in a group with a bunch of studs, and you might be still above the standard, but in the back of the pack, right? So you don't quite know, where that standard is, or you might be in the front of the pack, but you might be barely making the standard. So you never know.
Yeah. And then the thing is, you have different strengths too. Sometimes you're going to be in the middle, you're going to be in the back. Sometimes you're going to be in the front of the pack, because there's different challenges. You could be, a good rocker. You could be rock fast, but then, you're not good at carrying heavy weight. So, all those things happen in the event where there's going to be times where you're going to be sucking, and you'll be like, man, like I'm in the back, like, well, I can crawl, back crawling, or something that you don't have the strength as as the other competitors. So you just have to keep going, because it's gonna happen. They'll make everyone feel like that. There's few cases where guys are just crushing the whole thing, but for the most part, everyone is gonna have a bad time at some point, because the event, it's just hard in general. Everything, all the challenges are not easy. So like you said, don't quit, just keep going. If you're last place in the last task, I mean, the next one, just try to be in the front, try to finish first, and don't quit, just don't quit.
So last two questions. One, do you have a trophy wall or something with all your skulls and patches, or like, what do you do with all the patches and stuff you get from all these events?
Man, you're not gonna believe it. Oh man, it's funny, because for the beginning, since until last year, actually, I didn't care, to be honest. I had stuff in shoe boxes. I had a bucket full of stuff. I have stuff in boxes. I never. I was never the kind of person that I took, a trophy or a patch, or put him on the wall or anything like that. It was always they're somewhere. Yeah, I put him on that box, and then and I started dating my girlfriend, and she started asking me like, hey, so what do you have done? I was like, oh, I did this and did that, and it's like, what? And you did what? And I was like, yeah, where's the skull? And it's like, oh, I got the skull. It's in the shoebox, in the little box. I was like, how can you have the Derby skull in the shoebox? I was like, what? Just a skull. I was like, oh, I actually have two. The other one is somewhere else. And then she's like, what? So she started to ask me stuff. I was like, well, what is this? What is that? And I was, it's in that bucket. And one day she made me this patch board. I was like, well, there you go. You can put your patches in this board. So I was like, okay, let me find it, because I know they're on that plastic box, and they're like, again, in the shoe box, and another container over there. So I started like pulling all my stuff, and I don't even know how. I have so many things, and I still have things in buckets, those 5 little buckets from Home Depot. I still have medals and bibs, and all my dead race bibs are there, because I haven't hang anything. I really don't hang anything. She asked me to take off the skulls, so I took off the skulls, and I put all my my GoRuck Tier 1 patches on the patch board that she made for me. But no, I actually don't have any, like everybody has their, a wall full of medals or a wall full of trophies. No, I don't. You walk in my apartment and they're like, in my nightstand I had the two skulls because she's like, well, don't just leave it there. And I'm like, okay, I'll put it somewhere. Like, I put it on my nightstand, and that's it. That's all I have.
All right, before you like quote unquote retire from endurance events, I need a picture of all of your stuff laid out. Even if you just put it on the floor, like all the patches, all the skulls and bibs, like all the accoutrement there. I'm just gonna leave you with that. Whether it's 1 year from now or 10 years from now, you owe me that.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
And then two, we like to ask people, tell us something people would be surprised to know about you. So.
Oh wow, I like history. I love history. So I like to learn a lot about the 1800s and 1900s. I love to learn about war. I like to learn about things that happened in the past. I watch videos of wars that happened on the 1800s and things that happened in Europe. I don't know. Like, I have a thing for the past. I like to know, things that happened before me and how we became the people that we are right now. So that's I would say that's something funny that I think only my girlfriend knows that, because I always talk to her and I would say, look, did you know this and did you know that? And she's like, Ronald, why are you watching that? I was like, oh, I don't know. I watched a video about 1800s war and all this stuff. So that's something that nobody knows. But yeah, I think it's something that I like.
Okay, so what's your favorite, period of history? Is it like World War II? Or is it 18? You mentioned 1800s a couple of times. Is it like Civil War, or is it European 1800s? What are we talking here? What's your favorite?
I think that to me the most I would say the most crazy time was the Civil War. Just to know how many people die in the Civil War. To me, people just don't know, but like thousands and thousands of civilians were dying every weekend. Like if you look at the dates and look at the casualties, it was insane. I can't really give you the total of people that die in the Civil War in the U.S., but to me, that's the craziest thing to me. It was the Civil War for me.
Interesting. Yeah, I tend to like more modern stuff, and then the farther back we go in history, typically the less interest I have. I think mostly because it becomes. I mean, some of the principles still apply, but it has less applicability to my current job, right? So like, as the further away we get from modern times, So I think World War II is really interesting. Once we get to World War I, I'm a little less interested, and then by the time we get to Civil War, I'm like, I could take it or leave it. But I do really enjoy history also. So like, whenever we go on vacation, I drag my wife to museum after museum.
I'm the same thing too. Same thing. We want to see Erica. We want to go to New Orleans to the World War II museum that they have there. It says that it's amazing. So that we have an event in Louisiana this year, and we're definitely gonna check it out.
And I also recommend, if you like World War II stuff, you got to go to Europe at some point, because going to Normandy was just like, to me, that was wild. And like getting to see Point de Hoc, where the Rangers climbed up. And then when we went to England, we saw like the departure point for, where they left from England. And this is wild. And then all the we also went on a vacation in Germany, and just seeing all the history there, from the, obviously from the Nazis and stuff, and like the Nazi rally party grounds, like all this just like insane stuff, that like Hitler had planned. It's just like, it's just wild. And the fact that like someone like that could, influence a population to behave that way is
it's crazy. It's just insane. Yeah. It's hard to believe, but
yeah, I would like to think we moved past it, but sometimes I don't know. So I think anyone.
It's crazy that you mentioned it, Normandy, because GoRuck has an event in Normandy that we want to do, and because of the same reason, because Normandy, because I want to know, I want to go there, and I saw the whole documentary about what happened in Normandy, and I'm like, I want to go there, like I want to see it, and and be there and just, learn.
Yeah. I see when I watch these documentaries from like World War II and I look at some of the stuff those guys have gone through, I'm just astonished, like people are like, oh, well, you're a combat veteran. It's like, no, it's not the same. Like I was in my room watching DVDs a lot and like talking on the internet. It's a different experience.
Yeah.
So, it's still humbling.
I was talking to a wife of a guy that I know, but his wife worked with me, and she was telling me a little bit about him and say, hey, look, he went to Vietnam, and he said every time it rains, like it makes him feel bad. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? Well, because when he was in Vietnam, it never stopped raining. It like they were wet the whole time. So every time it rained, like he closed the windows and he just want to be outside. He doesn't like the water to hit his head because he feels like it's back in war. And I'm like, man, that has to be hard. Like, if you think about it, like you were like under the rain he said for days and it never stopped raining. I was like, man, that's I don't know. To me, it's incredible. It's the same thing. We go back to the endurance. It's another endurance event. Just to sitting there in the rain for days.
Yeah, if you want to read a good book about the psychological effects of war, there's a book called On Combat by Colonel David Grossman. That's really good. I think you might enjoy that. They have it on audiobook too. I've read it once in hard copy and once in audiobook. All right, let's taking up enough time. We should get going. Any final shout outs you want to give? Friends, family, sponsors, teammates, whatever. Go.
I would say definitely Mud Gear. You just gotta say thank you for you guys believe in me. They actually sponsored a couple of my events last year, team assessment selection. So, thanks to them for the support. They've always, been with me for years since I was doing OCR. So I always, try to promote them and, I use their gear. I have, like 20 shirts of Mud Gear that I use for rocking. So all the love to Mud Gear, over anybody, I would say Mud Gear. Thanks guys for all the love.
Gotcha. Good stuff. And yeah, like you said, Mud Gear's been involved in the sports since the beginning. So, give back to the brands that support our sport. For any of our listeners that want to know more about some of my personal selection stories, you can pick up a copy of my book, Ultra-OCR Man from Special Force Soldier to Record-Setting Obstacle Course Racer. It's on hard copy, digital, and audiobook. If you want to dip your toe in the endurance pool like Ronald and kind of go down that path, Tough Mudder has an event called Infinite Hero Honor Challenge that I'm running. So there's 3 events in 2022. It will not be nearly as challenging as some of the stories our guest has been telling us, but if it's a good starting point, and I think it's probably easier than hurricane heat, but it's a good, a little more fun. It's got that Tough Mudder, spin to it. So, just like a Spartan is different from a Tough Mudder, a hurricane heat is different from an Infinite Hero Honor Challenge. So you can head over and check Infinite Hero Honor Challenge over at the Tough Mudder website. There's a couple of articles I wrote up on there. There's an article about it on the OCR report, explaining a little bit more about it. There's also an article on the OCR report called Behind the Scenes at Tough Mudder. So part of working for them and developing this series for them, I got to see the behind the scenes of a normal day event. And so I just kind of shared some of my experiences there. If if it ruined the magic or if it gave me more appreciation, so you can head over to the OCR report and check that out. And then finally, head over my book, my newest book. It's coming out in April, is now available for pre-order. I've finished the majority of it. It's called On Endurance, a practical guide to superhuman performance, something like that. I need to remember my own title. But basically what I did was through guests like you and through all my other guests I've had over the last, what are we on, year 7 of podcasting? 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 6. Through the last 6 years of podcasting, I've essentially taken, little bits of advice from our guests and kind of assembled it into a more coherent, logical book that gives you, kind of like a step-by-step guide, like, here's what you do prior to event day. Here's what you do during event day. Here's some principles you need to apply. So instead of if you read my biography, you'll get a lot of similar lessons, but the book lays it out in simpler terms. And it's a fairly short book. It's about 100 pages, and it it's just, I didn't put any fluff in there. It's just kind of like, boom, here's what you do. Here's an example from one of our guests that backs up this point and kind of backs up what I'm saying. And, here's the next step, blah, 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 blah. And it kind of goes right down the line. So I've really enjoyed writing it. It's been a challenge because I had to go back and listen to a bunch of podcasts. And realistically, there's never enough time to go back and listen to everyone and include all the great advice I had. But I put a good amount in there. And I think I internalized probably more than I realized as far as information from our guests that are now, and I now think they're my thoughts, but they were probably came from someone else. So you can check that out on endurance. It's over at the teamstrengthspeed.com website. And keep following our social media pages, and we got some good stuff coming out. We'll catch all you later. So Ronald, again, thanks for coming on, and I will see you. When's the next time I'm going to see you? What do you got coming up?
Oh, wow. Selection and just a few trail races right now. There's not a lot of going on. We're going to Florida for an event. They're doing a 3-day event for GoRuck in April. So that's for the GoRuck games. I don't know if you hear about it, but the GoRuck games are happening there. So hopefully we make it. And I don't know, maybe you make it there too. I know Mud Gear hit me up about it. So maybe they'll go there too and check it out.
All right. Well, we'll see you around, and have a good night. We'll catch all you later.
You too. And thank you so much for, having me in your podcast. Always, a pleasure to work with you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
All right. Have a good night.